GreenPanda here, and this is my process of how I tackled Drawtober. Why am I posting this now? Well, my area is back in local lockdown, my tongue swelled with ulcers so I couldn't talk for 3 days, and something else happened that put into perspective how little some things matter, like this Inktober drama. Long story short, 2020 happened and I am not okay. So, to the people who liked my video and had different perspectives and arguments to add, I generally have to say thanks. I do love debates, I love seeing different sides to an argument. Alphonse seems to be doing fine, and Jake Parker's book is delayed in the UK, so yeah, life goes on. If my previous video felt misinformed, honestly, I didn't think anyone was going to watch it, to be honest. If I knew, I would have done more research and I would have went more in depth if I could. If I could start over and do it properly, I would pretty much buy every single book about inking, like the process and techniques, and then do a comparison of all the books, including Jake Parker's, and then see if it's actually, you know, plagiarism or not. But the thing is, Ethan Becker already did that, so again, no worries about that. And I didn't see the point in wasting money for a video that I thought, again, that nobody was going to watch. So the fact that lots of people watched my Inktober video is still surprising. Anywho, no one cares about that drama, that was so last August. So here's my process for Drawtober. It was a prompt for October, and I had to ask, what was your Tober? Was it Inktober, Drawtober, Brushtober, Blacktober? Regardless of any Tober and what you put at the front of it, which ones did you guys do? There's loads of Tobers a bunch of artists have done, so which one did you guys do? Hit me up in the comments. I don't really mind artists who self-advertise on here. If you're an artist, let me know, I will follow you. I want to see more art every day, so yeah, advertise yourselves. I don't personally mind if you want to in the comments below. I don't really give a shit as long as I'm following you artists and seeing new content. Good enough for me. Okay, so the 6 prompts in Drawtober. That's Carvings, Wicked Apocryphy, Midnight Feast, Folklore, Ancient Ritual, and Harvest Festival. I did complete this in the allotted time, but I did sabotage myself since the first 3 weeks of October were in a Mercury retrograde. And since I have bad luck with technology, you could see why I was worried. So I began brainstorming and looked at the prompts to get a real feel for them, okay? I settled on this final idea, but leading up to it, I had 4 other thumbnails to work with. A pumpkin with a root looking like a top hat. It was a profile of a face, which was boring. Another of her beheading someone and stealing their head, like the Headless Horseman. Liked it, but I felt like the pose was a bit too stiff. So again, I felt like I didn't have the confidence to actually finalise it. Oh, one where she herself was carving pumpkins while removing her own pumpkin head, so it's like she was kind of creating different heads to like wear on special occasions. I thought that would be pretty nifty, but again, pretty boring. After my initial idea, and I already did the thumbnail and like started cleaning it up, I realised halfway through the prompt it said carvings. If it meant pumpkins, it would have said pumpkin or jack-o'-lantern. I could have had carvings, I could have had like tree shrapnel, I could have had a tree carving with something engraved in it, a necklace, animal, statue, wood carving. Oh god. Okay, it doesn't matter, it's over with. I just continued my plan, but then it came to the medium. What did I want? Did I want traditional or digital? My first idea is that I wanted to create cards because I had an idea of making these prompts into prints. Not just for clients or anyone, but for me. Just for me, no one else, just mine. Why? Because I have no fan base, and I didn't see the point wasting money if no one was going to buy these, and who was I going to sell these to? Crickets? Like, come on man, like this is just for my own personal project. This is what I had in mind, and it was black cards with gold engraved text on it. Then I recently learned in the UK you can't print anything that might be someone else's intellectual property, which means that I can't exactly put my art into some sort of like print shop because they'll probably think I'm stealing and they can't prove that it's mine. So wait, you can no longer print artworks in this particular shop, but that is just one shop. I haven't looked at others yet, but at the end of the day I was pretty much exhausted and thought, fine, I'll just not make cards. So here was the question, digital or traditional? So I grabbed 2 A5 books, taped them up, practiced with them, and realised that they just did not cut it. They did not handle anything at all without warping or going completely crazy. So I pretty much gave up. My whole dreams of using traditional art went up in smoke. Digital it is! So what I did with the prompts, I basically brainstormed. I opened up Psy, and I just made a mood board and put everything that popped up into it when it came to like each individual prompt and everything, and see like to get a feel of the ideas, get the pictures, images and everything, and see what I could come up with. Bear in mind, these plans I used when I thought I was using traditional techniques, and this was the first draft. I also did a colour thumbnail, but then I got carried away, and I was no longer experimenting, and the next thing I knew, I did a complete illustration. I just had to clean it up, and I realised, like, I didn't have to, like, redraw the whole thing, recolour it, when the colour thumbnail that I did that was only supposed to be, like, you know, a mock-up, actually looked better than what I was going to recreate, so I thought I'll just keep it as it is and just clean it up and make it that into a speed paint instead. So slaving away, crying over how the colour schemes was pretty much like ruining my eyes because everything was so saturated, I finally finished carvings. So there's Mrs. Pumpkin for you. For Wicked Apocryphy, I did a mood board and doodled a lot of apocryphy objects and labels. I thought of a witch selling her wares in a mystical shop, selling lavender, wolfsbane, bottles with cursive labels, and she owned her own business, and she was like advertising to say, hey, look at what we have on sale. Like, that's what I wanted to convey because I thought that would be like a cool story. Sometimes when I'm given a prompt, I have way too many ideas and I have no clue which one will be better. What determines it for me is commitment. If you struggle with making your thumbnail work, then don't bother with it. It's like if you make a thumbnail and you like it, but then you try to expand it, make it bigger and redraw it from scratch, and like if you struggle with it, then that thumbnail is not going to work, and just give up on it. So that way it kind of shortens, like, it just makes the process go a bit faster. Look, what I knew for sure was that I didn't want to just draw objects. If I did, I would have done Inktober. Okay, so I wanted to draw pretty Halloween characters, environments. I wanted a story. Some ideas I ended up abandoning, and some plans I ended up not doing, and some thumbnails just ended up not working, especially with Wicked Apocryphy. I had some ideas here, but I felt like the composition, the colouring, and even the overall placement of like some objects with the character wasn't flowing right, so I ended up not doing any of these thumbnails that you see in the plan here. The first thumbnails I did, I liked at first, but realised they weren't great. It felt difficult implementing objects with a character and making a story out of it. I wanted at first a witch leaning over an open chest with vials with a hand outstretched with the dark green. You know, like those smiling girls from Evanescence Going Under, or the lady from Insidious? Because like I thought those grins were like really creepy and grotesque, and I was like, I want to redo that and see if I could like convey that. Okay, so there was two I didn't do, which was Folklore and Ancient Ritual. I mean, like, they were finished, but I didn't make speed paints out of them because I've already completed everything else, as again, I was carried away, so I finished everything, cleaned everything up, except for Folklore and Ancient Ritual. I didn't see the point because they didn't need to be fixed that much. They were actually alright the way they were, and I got them good the first time. In my earlier plans for Folklore, I had Maypole and a fairy and a witch, and I was thinking of like doing them all, but the thing is nothing was hitting me, and I was like, it doesn't feel like folklore, and I felt like I wasn't really getting the point of it, and it didn't feel like good enough. So when I saw folklore as a prompt, I had no clue of what I was doing. I was getting interested in Wicca at the time, so for a story idea I looked at some UK horror stories and came across the Church Grim, and I thought, yeah, that sounds great. Myths say that whoever's buried first in a graveyard becomes the guardian that takes souls to the afterlife. They couldn't make a person be trapped into an unlife of servitude, so they buried dogs instead. I then realised belatedly that I can't draw dogs. So I started looking up dog references and Dobermans, etc., and mostly other art featuring dogs. If there's something difficult that I can't draw, I split it into three things. Real life references, breaking it down to shapes, and seeing other artists line out to see how they draw a dog like in a cartoony style. And then like I go backwards and forwards from the cartoon into the real, and then the real into the cartoon, and just try to like see all pieces together and see how they're all meshed together, and then try to create it in my own way that I can understand. So here is the Wicked Apocryphy final image along with the work in progress, along with the Folklore one. And I'm actually pretty happy with how these turned out, and I do hope that these prints will actually look nice once I'm done with them. I'll figure that out eventually. Okay, for feast, I thought of something a bit too big for me, a banquet table with a bunch of monsters eating. It would have been Mrs. Pumpkin as the host, a werewolf, a ghoul and vampire arguing, zombies, etc. Also, when you think of feast, especially like a Halloween feast, what's the first thing you think of? Well, my first thought was Harry Potter. When you look at the feast for Harry Potter, you instantly think, wow, that is a Halloween feast. So I tried to recreate that because I loved it so much. But then it was trying to add that with like a big table banquet along with lots of characters, and nothing was flowing right, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to simplify this down for my little pea brain to handle. But at this point I didn't have time, and I was also mentally drained, and I think I was starting to hit art block a bit, so I had to redesign all the characters and I had problems with them, and I realised I could not draw something up to the scale because I was having issues. Not only everything was fine, I just couldn't draw the characters sitting down, but I couldn't draw the background, and again nothing was flowing right. So I couldn't think of a background, the perspective was all over the place, so I had to downsize and bring it down the scale and make it into something that I knew I could draw. So therefore, let's reduce this to one character, a zombie having a feast. And she is eating, get this, spaghetti bugger brains. Get it, like spaghetti bolognese? It's funny. It is. You're smiling. I know you're smiling. I know for a fine fact you are smiling because this is good comedy gold, okay? Well, I thought it was funny. And when I drew the character, eating it, the first thumbnail I had, I loved it so much, so I decided to go with, like, the first initial thumbnail because it just felt right. So this is the final product of the work in progress, the colouring, and the final illustration of Feast. Okay, for the festival, the idea I had was, again, way too big. I had no idea how to draw it, but I knew what I wanted. Okay, you know farmers market and carnivals? I wanted to combine the two and mesh them together, and long story short, I couldn't do it. Settled for carnival instead, and I got the idea and I was running out of time, so I just ran with it. Since October was running out, I went through with it. The work in progress, the line art, the colour, the whole shebang, and then I realised, Harvest Festival. Nothing in this image had anything to do with harvest. I might scream, but at this point it was too late and I just didn't care. And I just realised that I've edited this video so freaking well that I've actually got a ton of space that's just like no audio, but my speed paint that I have playing now is like really long and I can't speed it up any quicker than it already is without it giving anyone epileptic fits. So I have to like fill in time and I have no idea what to say other than I had an argument on Instagram, just a little random tidbit about a pentacle of all things. Apparently people online on Instagram seem to think that the pentacle is the sign of the devil. I am so confused because like if everyone uses Google it will tell you that it's not, because the sign of the devil is this one. And it's really funny because every single time, every single one that has the star pentacle, every single comment underneath is like, lol, Satan, devil worship, or this is like Satan propaganda, and I'm just looking at them like, has anyone got like access to Google? Have you noticed that people on Instagram don't even use Google or sources? Like, it's just a void of them screaming facts that they do not fact checked. I mean, at least with Twitter and Tumblr, you could add images and you could add like sources and stuff, but with Instagram, the only way you can win an argument is who's more witty and who's more like angry and says the most shit, and like who's the most insulting. And the thing is, the person who wins ends up being the idiot who actually is totally wrong because they again have no access to Google for some stupid reason. Let's just say quarantine has ruined Instagram for me because I've lost so much faith in humanity because of all the stupid internet fights I've just had. So there we go. This is Harvest Festival, and yeah, basically I realised too late that I had nothing to do with harvest, but you could pretend, you know, that they're all at a festival with carnivals and all that shit and they're having a fun time and like they're getting the harvest in at the same time. You guys can do that, right? Because I know I didn't really hit it, but to me it's close enough, and that was the extent of my creativity, and that's where the line ended. And at that point I was done, I was tired, and I was finished. So to recap on this whole video, all I did was make a mood board with all the prompts and then just put all my ideas down and all these images to help me out. I did digital and traditional thumbnails just to get like to be more diverse, because I feel like I do have struggle on traditional and I can't make it as like big as I want to be, but on digital I only end up drawing like a picture of like one thing and I can't get into all my like I can't draw my ideas fast enough because the pen tablet's a bit slow. So yeah, that was it. I basically took 6 prompts and made it needlessly more complicated than it should have been. So in short, don't do what I just did. Get a prompt, draw something, call it a day. So that's why this video took so long. 2020, the year that keeps on giving. Okay, hope you guys liked this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Remember to stay safe and be positive. Bye!